This is another episode of Stand-Up Comedy, your host and MC, celebrating 40-plus years on the fringe of show business. Stories, interviews, and comedy sets from the famous and not so famous. Here's your host and MC, Scott Edwards.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. Man, oh man, I'm so excited. One of a terrific comic, great friend, been on the podcast many times, but he's coming back for this second short interview so we can kind of catch up on what's going on. Let me bring him onto the show, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. Ladies and gentlemen, originally one of the funniest men in the universe out of New York City, now working regularly in Los Angeles, my good friend, Mark Schiff.
Wow.
Mark, so good to have you back on the show.
Boy, that sounded like the crowd used to have at Laughs Unlimited, like 6,000 people.
Yeah, we crammed him into the room that sat 200. It was amazing.
By the way, you had the worst dressing room in the history of show business. I remember sitting in the back there. There was a little ramp, wasn't there, back there or something? Yeah. And you stored the beer and everything in there. I was just sitting in the chair. It was freezing in there. Thank you very much.
Well, I tried to keep it real. Hey, let me catch the audience up on who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Schiff is a longtime friend of Jerry Seinfeld, and in fact, still tours with him from time to time. He has been on the Letterman show. He's been on the Carson show, well, the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. He's had his own HBO special. And if that wasn't enough, you're kind of a Renaissance man, Mark. You've written a book called Why Not? That's doing very well. And you have a terrific podcast called You Don't Know Schiff. Ladies and gentlemen.
Actually, yes. Go ahead.
I was just going to say,
Schiff.
Mark Schiff is a very funny guy, and it's so nice to have you back on the podcast. Mark, I see that you're doing shows all around. You're touring with Jerry. You're doing a lot. How's comedy treating you?
So it's never been better. And let me just say, my podcast, I have that was the old name. We have a new podcast called We Think It's Funny. I have a new co-host, Danny Robell, and it's doing very well, this podcast. We've had on Jerry Seinfeld's going to be on soon. We had Paul Reiser, we had Leno, we had Margaret Cho. Yeah, everybody. It's doing great. So it's called We Think It's Funny. That's what they should tune into. My book is doing great, and I'm always touring with Jerry. In the last 2 weeks, I was with him in North Dakota, in Grand Forks, North Dakota, Houston, Texas, Indiana, and I can't even remember the fourth place. And last Saturday night, we played 6,000 people in Houston in an outdoor theater. Thank God Jerry's good so he can follow me. So that's all I got to say.
Well, that's true. And it's apparently, if you want to see the world, tour with Jerry Seinfeld, you're going to some amazing exotic places.
Grand Forks, North Dakota.
I know. I mean, I just get goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah, no, we're having a great time in the tour. Jerry and I are friends, and we've been friends. We started together in 1976. His first day of comedy, he met me at the comic strip. We became friends in 1976, and we remained friends. I've had the pleasure of touring with him nonstop for the last 25 years.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, if you go back and find the interview with Mark, you'll hear some great stories about Larry Miller, Paul Reiser, Jerry Seinfeld, a great group of guys that all got started in New York. And I'm glad that you caught the podcast name up for the audience. By the way, You Don't Know Schiff is still out there. So if you want to hear some early interviews, it's still out there. But look for the new podcast. We Think It's Funny. It sounds like a great idea. Mark, you're always bringing the funny, whether it's an HBO special, TV, you've done some cartoon stuff. You've really been around as a comic entertainer. Stand-up comedy has been your whole life. Would you say that you've been fulfilled, creatively speaking?
Good question. So, yes, it has been since I was a little, like 23 years old. Been doing this for 50 years almost, 48 years. I have done something that most people don't get a chance to do. I've worked nonstop in show business for my entire career. This is absolutely amazing thing to do. I never got the big sitcom, but I don't care. I've worked, and creatively, that's up to the individual. stand-up comedy fulfills every creative need possible if you're willing to put the time and work into it.
Yeah, I think that's a truism, and I think that it is a salute to your humor and your success, and that you've been able to go, your whole life, your career in comedy, because we both know a lot of people that got in and out or had huge success, like your buddy Jerry, or didn't make a living. So you've seen both spectrums.
Yeah.
And I would say making a 50-year career out of stand-up comedy puts you in the top 5% of the funniest
Easily.
people out there.
So let me say, one of the things that Jerry and I specialize in is we've never wanted to entertain a select group. We've always wanted to entertain everybody. And comedy now is bigger than ever before in history. Nate Bargatze is selling at 18,000 seats, 2 shows in one night. It's unbelievable. But a lot of comedians are doing their story now, and it's about reaching their little group. And we've never felt like doing that. We want to reach it. Our goal was to get into Vegas where, everybody was there, not just, this group or that group. You understand what I mean, Scott? Like you had at the club. All walks of life people were there. And that's who we had to reach to be successful at Laughs Unlimited.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think as a producer of comedy that reaching a broader audience was not only good for me as a business owner, because you want everybody of various incomes and backgrounds to come in and be entertained, but I think that it lends itself to a broader audience also for the comics. Like you said, you can play in Idaho or Texas or the South or LA or New York, and you're still going to find the funny with your audience, as opposed to somebody that is a little too niche and they're only going to do well in the South, or they're only going to do well in the big cities, right?
Right. That's right. That's exactly. We want to entertain, and all we care about is entertaining. I just had this conversation with Jerry the other day. We're not into teaching anybody. We're not into showing people how smart we are. All we want to do is send them home with a belly full of laughs and that they had a good time. That's it.
Well, I think it's a great goal to have. And what's interesting is that even though you and Jerry have had slightly different paths, you both understand the value, and you get something personally out of performing for a room full of strangers every night. And that has to be true because, as we just talked about, you're both still doing it, 50 years later. And we both know that Jerry doesn't need the money. I don't know about you, but you're doing it because you love the industry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We just love doing what we do and what anything else. The one area I've never succeeded at, and I think, you remember when you used to pick up the comedians to take them to do radio at 6 a.m.?
Right.
For some reason, when I did those radio, there were some comedians, when they did radio, they would fill the room. When I did radio, I just never really was able to pull a group of extra people in. I don't know why. I mean, on the podcast it worked, but when I went to radio at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, those people didn't seem to come out at night. So I got to work on my radio skills, Scott.
Either that or you're just not a morning person.
I mean, maybe radio is going to have research and come back. I'm going to be ready next time, Scott.
Well, there you go. Next time. Hey, Mark, a couple of your buddies, Paul Reiser and Larry Miller, both went into TV and movies, mostly movies, but got off the stage as stand-up comics. I know you had an HBO special. You've done some spots on some shows, and you've written for some TV. At what point does an entertainer choose a path, whether it's going to be, stay on the stage or go to film and video, or maybe go into directing and writing? Is it something that the person chooses, or does the career choose you?
That's also a good question. So I was never offered, I had a pilot deal that I had, but the truth is I was never able to really perform like these guys in a tight situation and auditions and stuff like that. I was very bad at it. And Jerry actually, luckily, didn't, when he auditioned, he got on the show Benson. He did a couple they fired him. But when he had his own show where he just stepped in there and he was able to have, put together the best show on TV. Reiser's a natural. In the room, he could wow anybody he's auditioning for. And I just never had that skill. And I got too nervous in the rooms and it just never happened. But you know something? I don't care. I mean, I've always worked and I'm proud of the work that I've done. I've maintained long friendships, a long marriage. That's another thing that I'm proud of. Going on the road, a lot of guys lost their families. They started scooting around. Jerry and I have talked about it. That's something we're never interested in. We're just interested in performing, staying true to the wives, and doing the best we can.
Well, I appreciate you sharing the story about Jerry Seinfeld being on Benson, the TV show, and then getting fired, which is so funny. But of course,
they got rid of him so fast; it was unbelievable.
But we all know a success having his own show, which is interesting because Paul Reiser, as you mentioned, or Larry Miller could fall into any role and make it work. Jerry had to kind of create his own world, and you've done your own world, but all on stage. So we're talking 4 very successful stand-up comics, but all with a slightly different path. I think that's one of the interesting aspects of our industry.
Everybody takes a different path. I wrote a play years ago called The Comic. Larry Miller starred in it. And it was about an Asian comic who is on his down and out. And his last moment before he commits suicide, he tries to help another person. It was a terrific play. Neil Simon loved the play. He came to see it. So people said to me, Mark, why didn't you start it? You wrote, you're a comic and, you're in the 50s. Why don't you do it yourself? I said, because Larry Miller's a better actor than I am. And I would ruin my own play. And I didn't want to do that. And you just got to know who you are and what your limitations are and be willing to accept that.
Oh, that
makes sense?
Yeah, that's really good advice, Mark. Thanks for sharing that. And it is so true. You don't want to go outside your own comfort zone to force something when there's something, an alternative. As a producer, I'm always having to try to find the right talent, the right acts to mix to make a good show. And you don't always succeed, but it takes more than just being funny. You have to be able to see the big picture. I also wanted to share with the audience that you do a lot of fundraisers and a lot of specialty shows. You're a real advocate for the Jewish community. There's been some anti-Semitism building in this country. As a comic, I know that you don't bring that to the stage, but how do you find your role in what's going on?
So I do a lot of Jewish events, and there I not an issue. I don't bring it to the, when I'm out with Jerry, and neither is he, but they know. But on Facebook, I'm very open about my Jewishness. I post stuff all the time, and on Instagram. And my podcast, We Think It's Funny. It's a very funny, honest podcast, and we also talk openly about our Jewish values. So everybody has to do, if everybody did a little more to help, whatever situation they think needs help, it would be a much better world. And I'm going to Israel for the 10th or 11th time in October with my wife. So we do what we can.
Yeah, that's amazing, Mark. And I think you bring up a good point that to fight anti-Semitism, I think just be a good Jew, be yourself, and show the world through, in your case, through your comedy, through your podcast, and through just who you are, all the important aspects and positive aspects of the Jewish community. And my hat's off to how you stand up to what's going on and are being yourself, which I think is so important.
So, and by the way, if you're a good Jew, my hat's on, not off. So there you go. So
your yarmulke
my hat's
is on.
Yeah, my yarmulke is on. So I got you there.
Well, I appreciate the position you take and what you're doing. Thank you for that. And of course, I've had a chance to see some of your work in the Jewish community as a stand-up comic. And I know that in these challenging times, it's nice to have a positive voice. But more important, you're bringing laughter to a group of people. In fact, whether it's in Idaho, Texas, or a Jewish fundraiser, I think one of the important aspects of being a talented comedy writer and performer is that you're bringing entertainment and kind of a distraction from the world to your audience. And that's important, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, and I don't even know what I say this, I write biweekly, not bisexually, biweekly for the every other week I write a story for the Jewish Journal. So if people go to jewishjournal.com and put my name in, Mark Schiff, I have over 100 articles that I've written for the newspaper. Over 100. Wow. And most of them is not about being Jewish. It's kind of in the Dave Barry humorous type of vein. So if you want to get some good laughs, go to jewishjournal.com, put my name in 100 articles. By the time people hear this, there'll be 120 articles. So enjoy yourself.
Well, appreciate you sharing that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a man that stands on his principles and brings comedy to the world, our Jewish friend, Mark Schiff. Great job, Mark.
Thank you, Scott.
And thanks for coming back on the podcast and sharing a little bit about what's going on with you. I'm going to make sure everybody knows about We Think It's Funny, the new podcast. What's coming up for 2026? Do you have any big shows? You planning any projects?
I got about 15 shows already scheduled with Jerry coming into the next year. We wait at least up until December. I'm writing a movie with my friend Brian Ross, and believe it or not, two Jews writing a Christmas movie. And
that's funny.
I mean, let's face it, who wrote the best Christmas songs? The Jews.
Right.
So if they could write the best songs, we could write the best Christmas movies. And I just keep writing my articles, doing my stand-up, and doing my podcast. That's pretty full-time for me.
Well, that is terrific. And one last thing we want to make sure we plug is your book, Why Not?, which I know has done well since it came out. Have you thought about doing any of their books, or is that one enough to fulfill your need creatively?
Good question, too. I have enough stories for another book. So once I get a chance to pull it together, I'll send it to my agent in New York and see what they have to say. Maybe there's another book. And if not, I wrote two books. Don't forget, I wrote I Killed with Rich Scheidner, the quintessential road stories book. There are a lot of young comedians who find that book, so it became the road Bible. I Killed, True Stories of the Road by America's Top Comics, which I wrote with Rich Scheidner.
I'm so sorry I forgot that. I have a copy sitting right in front of me. I had so much fun reading it. Being in the industry, those stories really touched that generation of the 80s and 90s and being a road comic. So, ladies and gentlemen, you got the book I Killed, and you have Why Not? You got the podcast We Think It's Funny. We Think It's Funny. And you have an upcoming special with Brian Ross about Christmas. You are a busy, busy creative man, and the fact that you took time to share with my audience is much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mark Schiff. Thank you, sir, for being on the show.
Thank you, sir. My hat's on to you.
And his hat's still on. Wow, what a fun short interview with my good friend Mark Schiff. Hey, let's share a little bit of his comedy right now.
Danny mentioned Costco. I'm a big Costco fan. You like Costco? You like going there? Yeah. My wife and I go there. We go to before I go to Costco, I'm an idiot. I think I'll spend $70, $80. $1,700 later, I'm buying mustard for the next 111 years. Just cases. I bought 200 batteries, AA batteries. I don't even own a flashlight. People come to my house. I give them, here, take some mustard with you and take some batteries. It's on me. I got to get rid of these so I can buy some more. I looked in this one guy's cart. He had 6 cases of Drano and 6 cases of toilet paper. I'm thinking, what kind of diet is this guy on that he needs this type of firepower? And they sell everything at Costco, so it's absolutely true. They sell coffins at Costco. Coffins. What is this, an impulse buy? I'm online with my wife. I go, honey, I don't feel good. I got a headache, my feet hurt. I'm going to grab a coffin while we're here. You know, you look a little pale yourself, and it's 30% off the second one. We just keep them in the garage till we need them. You know, right before COVID, I bought a brand new car, and I don't have a place to park in my house. I got a little house, you know, LA, 1,600 square foot, $40 million house. And it's very expensive to live near other Jews. It's very expensive. So I had to park in front of my house, got a brand new car, so I bought a car cover, $160. I covered the car, came out the next morning, somebody stole the car cover. Right? So I figured, this is a one-off. I bought another one, I covered the car. Next day, gone. Then I bought the third one, and I figured out, I covered the car, and I got in the car. And I sat there, 17 hours. The guy lifts it up, I go, ah! There's a heart attack, drops dead. I pull out the Costco coffin and bury him in the backyard. Sometimes life has a way of working itself out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week with some great stand-up comedy. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Scott.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Stand Up Comedy, Your Host and MC. For information on the show, merchandise, and our sponsors, or to send comments to Scott, visit our website at www.standupyourhostandmc.com. Look for more episodes soon and enjoy the world of stand-up comedy. Visit a comedy showroom near you.